In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can make this Caribbean salad at home. I will link the ingredients in the description below, so please hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Let's get started. So to get started, we're going to have to butterfly some chicken breast. I have here 2 fresh chicken breasts, and we are going to butterfly them. In order to butterfly the chicken breast, we need to identify which is a straight edge of the chicken breast and which is the rounded edge of the chicken breast. As you can see, this is a straighter edge, this is the rounder edge. So we're going to take our knife and horizontally cut across into the chicken about 90% of the way. You don't want to cut all the way through, you just want to cut 90% of the way into the chicken breast. And then you'll open up the chicken breast like this, make a few additional cuts if needed to make it lay flat, and there we have a butterflied chicken breast. We're going to do the same thing to this other chicken breast as well. We're going to be cooking up both of these chicken breasts a little bit later today. So once you have them opened up and you have them butterflied, just like this, we're going to take the chicken breasts and we're going to place them into a Ziploc bag. Now the Ziploc bag doesn't have to be closed, okay? We're going to keep it open. We're going to take a meat hammer. We have a tenderizing edge that we're not going to use, and we have a smoother side that we are going to use. And then we're just going to start beating this chicken breast. In fact, you just want to beat this chicken breast like it owes you some money. So go ahead and beat it in there all the way around the edges. What you're doing is you are flattening the chicken breast, and you are therefore expanding the chicken breast, and it makes it a lot easier to cook and a lot quicker to cook, and you don't have to worry about undercooked chicken, which is always a big threat and a big concern whenever you're cooking chicken. You do not want to have undercooked chicken. Trust me on this. So once you have a decent size or decent tenderization of the chicken breast like this, all right, we're going to go ahead and remove it from the bag, and then we're going to place the second chicken breast in there, and we're going to repeat this process again for the second chicken breast. Let's go ahead and take it out of the bag, move it off to the side. Now anytime you're dealing with raw chicken, you want to make sure that you're not really touching anything else other than the chicken, and then you want to wash your hands afterwards. So here we're getting started on the marinade for the chicken breast. So to get started on the marinade, we are going to need a couple of scoops of brown sugar. We're going to need some cumin. My bottle here of cumin, the cumin got packed in there really tight, so I got to kind of scoop it around a little bit and break it up, which is perfectly fine. Sometimes your seasonings will do that. So once you have a little bit of the cumin, add it in there. Remember, I will put all of the ingredients in the description below. So go ahead and scoop in and scoop around and get it all in there. Next, we're going to add some soy sauce. We definitely want to add some soy sauce in this. It's going to add a lot of complex flavors to the marinade. It's going to make the chicken taste amazing. I've used this marinade already a few times, not just for the salad. I actually started using this marinade after I made this salad. It was actually pretty good, I'm not going to lie. So once you have that in there, you're going to go ahead and add in some fresh olive oil. I like using olive oil a lot better than vegetable oil. It's a little bit more healthier for you than vegetable oil. And we're going to go ahead and take a fork, and we're going to mix this up until it's nice and thoroughly combined. We don't want any chunks of anything floating around, which can happen when you're mixing wet ingredients to dry ingredients. So once you have it mixed and it's thoroughly mixed, you're going to take your chicken, place it into the bag. You want to get a new clean bag for this. Don't use the old bag. Wash your hands after you're done playing with the chicken. And then we're going to pour in the marinade. Pour it in directly over the chicken. It is absolutely not going to hurt the chicken at all. Just go ahead and pour it in there. Take some of the air out by rolling it around and squeezing some of the air out. And then go ahead and start mixing it up with your hands. Go ahead and flip it around. Give it a little toss, a little spin, a little smushing. All right, we want to get every inch of chicken covered with this marinade. And then once we have it covered up and it's completely covered up, we're going to keep it in the bag, and we're going to place it back into the fridge because we want it to soak in that marinade once we have it completely coated. So now we're going to go ahead and work on the dressing for the salad, which is a mango-based dressing. So I have 2 mangoes here, and we're going to need some limes. Now, mangoes are a lot like avocados in the way that there is a massively huge pit seed in the middle, and where they're not like avocados is that getting that pit seed out is a royal pain in the rear end. So what I tend to do when I have to cut a mango up and I know that that pit seed is in there, what I tend to do is cut it similarly, excuse me, to an avocado, where I'm going to cut it from tip to tip and follow the knife all the way around as far as I can. This way I know exactly where my pit seed is at. So just go ahead and cut it all the way around. Don't worry if your lines don't match up. You'll be able to make them to match up as you're bringing that knife back around to cut it up. And then go ahead and slice down the ends where you know the seed is at and where you know where the mango juice is at. Once you have your mangoes cut up, you're going to take a bowl to the side. You're going to take a spoon and you're going to scrape the mango off of the skin of the mango. You want the innards, not the outer. So we're going to go ahead and scrape these and we're going to place them into a bowl off onto the side. And we're going to do this for both of these mangoes. We want both of them in the bowl. Once you have them completely scraped and the leaves are empty, we're going to take a lime and we're going to roll the lime with a little bit of pressure. What this does is it loosens up the lime and it makes it a lot easier to juice. Now I have here a collection of limes. I'm not going to use all of these limes, to be honest. I didn't realize I wasn't going to use all of the limes because this is more of a flavor-based sauce that we're making. So what we're doing is we're just cutting the limes completely in half. All right, and since we rolled them with a little bit of pressure, they'll be a lot easier to juice either with a juicer or with your hand. I tend to use my hand, so I'm just going to go ahead and squeeze the juice out. You might make a little bit of a mess when you do this, and that's perfectly okay. So we're going to go ahead and speed this up a little bit. And you can see here, you can sit here and watch me squeeze the lime. Squeeze the limes, get the juice all out, get it all mixed in there, get it all put in there. Don't worry if you have any seeds in there, you can scoop them out with a fork. It's really no big deal. We're going to just basically squeeze and squeeze and squeeze. We want all of these limes, or at least most of them, until our measuring cup is filled up with lime juice. Once it's filled up with lime juice, we are going to take this and we are going to pour it into the bowl with the mangoes. Next, we're going to add some honey. Now this is some really good honey. We get it from the farmer's market. The wife really likes it. It's kind of pricey. Shaking the bottle a little bit helps as you're dispensing it into the measuring spoon. So we're going to go ahead and add that into the mango mixture. We're also going to add a couple of squirts of olive oil. And here we have our mixture. And then next we are going to add some coriander, some cumin, and some cayenne. Okay, this isn't going to make it very spicy. All right, it's going to add a nice little kick to it, but that's perfectly fine. Now, the one thing I did not show is running this through a blender, which is going to be the next step. You're going to want to run this through a blender until it's completely smooth and it flows freely. The last thing you add in here is some salt. I always use kosher salt. You can use table salt, but kosher salt seems to work a little bit better. Once it's out of a blender, you're going to take a squeeze bottle and you're just going to pour it into a squeeze bottle. Now, I found that when you make a homemade dressing for salads or any type of dish that you're making, put it into a squeeze bottle. It's a lot easier to put onto your food. It's a lot easier to garnish. It just makes things a lot easier. It really does. So go ahead, once you're done blending it, and go ahead and pour it into a squeeze bottle. Now, you want to put this directly into the fridge as soon as you're done because you want it to stay cold. You should have a nicely bright yellow color to your dressing. It's going to be packed full of flavor. My wife did not complain. In fact, she went back for seconds, and so did my kids. So obviously this dressing it's phenomenal. I'm not much of a rabbit food eater myself. However, my family is. So next we're going to get started on cooking up the chicken. This top here was given to me by my brother when he came out to visit. He hooked me up. It's cast iron. It's two-sided. One side smooth and one side looks like a grill, which is perfectly fine because it allows me to grill in my house when it's too cold or when it's wet outside. It's great. I've used it quite a few times. I absolutely love it. Easy to clean, easy to keep clean, and they'll last forever as long as you take care of them. So all I've done here is I've put the chicken on here. I got high heat. We put the chicken on, and we're going to slide this one up out of the way, and we're going to put the second chicken breast up here. And that's perfectly fine too. Because we butterflied the chicken breast and we tenderized them with the hammer, they're a lot thinner, so they don't take as long to cook. Okay, you can still get a fully cooked chicken breast doing it this way. And if you were in my kitchen right now, you could smell everything, and oh my God, was it amazing. I loved it. Oh my, if you make this at home, you're not going to be disappointed with the smell. So we're going to take the chicken breasts once they're done. We're going to take them off, and off screen, I didn't film it, but off screen, you're going to want to cut the chicken up into cubes. All right, you want to dice it up, cube it up, any size that you want, really. All right. Now we're going to work on the lettuce portion. This is a beautiful head of romaine lettuce. It's been washed, it's been cleaned, and we're going to cut the bottom off because we don't want it. And we're actually going to use this entire head of lettuce, okay? So cut the lettuce up into sizes that are bite-sized and manageable, all right? Don't worry if anything falls off to the side. Okay, when I was doing this, I made a slight mistake. I didn't calculate exactly how much I was going to have. And I tried using one bowl. It turned out to be not enough. I needed 2 bowls, which is perfectly fine. Again, you know, this salad did not last very long in my fridge. You know, the wife and the kids really loved it. So that's always a good thing. So you're going to want to cut this up all the way until you get to the very end. And then what I did here is I then turned my cutting board so that I could cut the lettuce in a vertical manner. And what this did was it allowed me to have a very bite-sized, manageable pieces of lettuce. Make sure that anytime you're cutting lettuce, you have a very sharp knife. All right, the last thing you want is a dull knife or a knife with nicks and cuts in it. That's not going to cut all the way through the leafy greens. So you want to make sure that you cut everything all the way down. Now there's 2 other ingredients that we're going to add with the lettuce here. We're going to add 2 red onions, and we're going to add 2 red bell peppers, and I'm going to show you exactly how we cut those here in a minute. Once you have these cut, you're going to go ahead and place them into a bowl. At last minute making this salad, I decided to go off of the recipe that I have and added some black beans. Just grab yourself a can of black beans, rinse them, and mix them in, and they'll work perfectly fine. If you don't want black beans, you don't have to have them. So with the onion here, the red onion, we're going to cut it from root to stem, and then we're going to cut the roots off, and then we're going to peel the onion. Now, the one thing I've learned about cooking or cutting onions is you always want to peel that outer layer. It's not typically a good layer of onion, so you always want to peel it. Don't worry, there's plenty of onion left for you to use. And instead of dicing it up, we're just going to cut it up into half rounds. Okay, so keeping the onion the way it is, go ahead and cut it into any size thickness that you want. It really doesn't matter. At the moment I realized I didn't have a big enough bowl, I had to stop, mix it up a little bit, and then cut the second onion and the second bell pepper, which is perfectly fine. You know, you work with what you have. So go ahead and add that into the lettuce. Go ahead and get that all put in there. Don't leave anything untouched. Obviously, there were some ends of the onion that I just didn't use. That's just personal preference. I typically don't use the ends. So here with the bell pepper, we are going to cut this bell pepper up. To get started, we're going to cut the stem off, turn it around, and we're going to cut the bottom end off. Then we're going to cut sideways into it, and then we are going to roll the bell pepper around the core. And doing this keeps the core intact, and it prevents all the seeds from falling off into the bell pepper. So we're going to cut it up into 4 pieces. And with the shiny side or smooth side down, we're then going to cut it into nice little batons. Once you have it cut into batons, you're going to turn it sideways, and then you are going to dice your bell pepper, and you're going to want to do it exactly this way for the rest of your bell pepper. And go ahead and get that mixed in there. So here is the first mixing of the salad when I realized I didn't have a big enough bowl and I needed 2 bowls. Just something I'm going to fix. I'm going to find myself a much bigger bowl to do this type of stuff with. Don't worry if you're making a mess in your kitchen. Honestly, if you're not making a mess in your kitchen, are you really cooking? So once you have your lettuce all mixed in, all right, and you have everything that you need and everything's good to go, the last thing that you're going to add is the chicken. Okay, now the chicken is still hot, it's still cooked, it's still steamy, which is great. It's juicy, it's full of flavor, and that's exactly what we want with any kind of chicken that we cook. We want it to be juicy. We do not want dry chicken. Trust me on that. You do not want dry chicken. So once you have it all mixed in, go ahead and take your chicken, add it in there. It was at this point where I decided to add black beans. It's real simple. Take a can, drain it, rinse it, clean it out completely, and then add your beans. Don't worry, you know, some people don't like beans. I decided to add beans last minute. It wasn't really on the recipe list. It was just something I wanted to add and mix it up a little bit. And next we can move on to plating. Now, anytime you plate any type of food, you want a bowl or a plate that is going to basically complement your dish. So here I have a small, it is a light tan bowl, shallow bowl, really wide. You can use tongs. I tend to use my fingers. Just make sure that they're completely clean. So what we're going to do is we'll just scoop them in there. Just go ahead and scoop it all in there, right? Or as much as you want. It really depends, you know, how much exactly do you eat, or how much is the person going to eat that you're making this for. So go ahead and scoop it all in there and make sure you get a little bit of everything: the chicken, the onions, the peppers, the lettuce. Okay. Next, we are going to take our dressing, which you can see in the top right. Once our hands are clean, we're going to take our dressing, pop the top off, and we're going to put a nice little decorative squirt of dressing on here. If you want more dressing, by all means, hook yourself up with more dressing. It really doesn't matter. So go ahead and squirt that on there, nice and even all the way around. And the very last thing that we're going to do to make this salad look presentable is we are going to add some Mandarin oranges. Now, I couldn't find Mandarin oranges in my store to cut up myself, so I settled with canned oranges. When you're using any type of oranges out of a can, you want to make sure they're in water and not syrup. Okay, syrup can dilute the flavors down a little bit, and you don't want to do that. So make sure you get them with, you know, the oranges in water. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and place these oranges all the way around the bowl, and we're going to put 2 in the center. And there we have it. There is our homemade Caribbean salad. I hope you enjoyed this video.